It's kind of... Oh, man. What is this? What's the end of this?
There is no end.
Saving America one mind at a time. This is Smith Radio. And now, your hosts, Carrie and Brian Smith.
Much of what you see and hear on the following program may be shocking and upsetting to you. But if you will listen calmly and with an open mind, you may discover the key to the peace of mind and joy for which you've been searching all of your life.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, enough is enough.
Wow, already. Wow, that's pretty quick.
You're listening to Smith Radio, your host, Brian Smith, and
Carrie Smith.
Giving you the breaking news, laying it all out from last week, summing it all up, telling you what you should have heard, giving you our take on it, which is, I can't see where we have ever been actually wrong. We got it right last week. Dude, we got it right last week.
Okay.
Folks, if you didn't hear last week's show,
you missed out.
Shame on you. Go back and listen to it.
Oh, yeah. As soon as you're done with this show, go ahead and listen.
Yeah, this is going to be a short show, and I know all of you folks are always into the 3-hour show. We've got a lot of listeners that say, hey, man, I start your show on Monday morning. I listen to you all week long. So there you go. That's the way to do it. Just keep us on the if you want to listen to us on iHeartRadio in your car, you could definitely search iHeartRadio, or there's a quick link, iHeart.smithradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at Smith Radio. I've got a special, my own handle at Brian, BRIN, P as in Paul Smith on Twitter, at Smith, or Facebook.com/Smith Radio, and on the YouTube, Smith Radio. If you ever want to find us, we're Smith Radio everywhere. iTunes, iHeart. I mean, did you know we are on a handful of, not blog, but we're on a handful of sites across the world. I didn't even know we were on. Really? They picked us up.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can listen.
I'll take it.
Any device you could possibly, or any outlet you can possibly listen to, whether it be YouTube or the blog channels, we're all over the place.
And if you are one of those websites, you'll be hearing from our lawyer. Just kidding. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of things that went down this week. This is going to be a short show because Happy Easter, everyone.
Yes, Happy Easter. We have our family on standby in the other room eating an Easter meal while we jam this show in.
Yeah, they're doing dessert and we're skipping the sugar rush to be here for you.
Yes, I'm starting to go into sugar shock. What is that? Diabetic shock.
Right, diabetic shock.
Too much food, too much candy.
So if you're listening to this show and you are not a fan of Easter, or you are not a claimant of Christianity, what is Easter all about? Just real quick, sum it all up. Christianity is the only religion in all of human history that answers the question about death and conquers death. And Christianity conquered death with Christ being hung on the cross, dead, thrown in a tomb, 3 days, came back to life, said, hey guys, you got anything to eat?
Ascended into heaven. Got anything to eat?
No, that's what he said. When he came back and he met with the apostles and they couldn't believe it, he said one of the first things that he said was, hey, you got anything to eat around here?
Get the munchies?
You've been gone for 3 days, been battling hell, the devil,
right?
Death.
He descended into hell
and came back from that. So, Christianity, a very, very. I don't know where I'm going with this. So it's a solid religion that we believe in. It's solid. I don't know, folks. I'm losing it here.
It's Easter. Everybody's relaxed.
I got the food rush.
Yeah.
Like it's all hitting me.
Yeah, it happens. Well, what happened this week? Lots of stuff?
Yeah. So we don't forget the Moab bomb.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that real quick. Trump dropped the largest bomb that we have in our arsenal that has never been dropped before. 20,000 pound payload.
21,000.
21,000 pound payload. The only larger bomb than that would be a nuclear bomb.
Right. And just to let you know, there have been the backpack nuke that was developed back in the 60s, 70s, whenever it was. actually has a yield that's only slightly more than the Moab.
Now, and it is classified as a backpack nuke.
Oh, it's a nuke.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I actually tweeted something that I had to delete because I thought it was right. I trusted the Google's first response, and then I realized that wasn't true. I searched for the smallest. What is the yield of the smallest nuke ever produced? And they came up with a 6,000 kiloton. Well, actually, the backpack nuke, and also there's a nuke that they developed that can be shot out of an artillery, like a cannon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that one has like a 20 kiloton yield. So it's just like a very, very small nuke. And so, yeah, I was wrong about the 6,000 kiloton yield. But that being said, I saw videos of the Moab going off. You see that black and white where it's kind of like an infrared. When it blows up, the screen turns black, which means it's kind of a reverse, like an infrared type thing.
Right.
And so some people were worried that this bomb was this excessive use of force. And I didn't hear anybody question that, but you can kind of tell that they were trying to answer that question when the Pentagon came back and said that this was the proper weapon to use for this particular mission.
Yeah.
And when they describe the setup of the place that they bombed, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because if you use the SAR bomb, I mean, that might have been a little overkill. 57.
Oh, the Tsar bomb.
The Tsar, TSAR.
You're talking about a thermonuclear hydrogen bomb, H-bomb.
Yeah, 57 megaton. Theoretically, maximum yield of 100 megaton if it were to include U-238 tamper.
Megaton. Earlier, I was talking about kiloton.
No, this is mega.
Mega is 1,000 kilos.
Okay, and let me just stop it right here, folks. We're having some fun with this, little tongue in cheek here. We are not warmongers. We do not enjoy
Right.
the carnage of war. It's not where we're at. However, we are at war with Islamic terrorism.
Right.
And the people that head up this terror network are where they're underground bunkers, they're in the desert, they're making plans on.
Yeah, and they have an underground network of tunnels.
Right, looking to kill more in Paris again.
Right.
And they dropped a car bomb in Turkey, killing over 100 citizens. And somebody said to me,
"Wow, that's big."
Just a couple days, might have been yesterday.
Okay.
And somebody said to me, "Well, what's the difference of that? They're killing, you're killing too." Yeah, but they're killing innocent people that wish nothing more than freedom. We are killing those that are robbing
the
free people.
Yeah, they're taking freedoms from people. It's just evil. You got to listen, here's the thing about Smith Radio, and I've said this a million times, but we could have new listeners. So for those of you that listen for a long time, you have to indulge me. Our whole thing is to be on the side of righteousness. And that's the difference. It's not just about, well, you kill, we kill, they kill, everybody kills. What's the difference? Well, the difference is the motive and the reasons and the cause and all that kind of stuff. And there might be some people that would say, yeah, well, they think they're on the side of righteousness and you think you're on the side. Well, I can make the argument. I don't think they can.
When you set off a car bomb as a coward in the middle of a city of people just attempting to live their life, enjoy life, maybe they're walking down the street with their child. There were children involved that were killed. They're innocent. They have no idea. All they are just walking along, just living life, and somebody ignites a car bomb to rob them of their life.
Right.
Come on, man. It's not on the battlefield. It's different.
There's not a single person in the World Trade Center that knew what the hell they were going to die for.
Yeah, but Kerry, they had evil thoughts, and they're worshiping evil deities in their homes called Christianity.
Yeah, see, that line of thinking is the kind of evil that destroying puts me on the side of righteousness. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. So if you're listening to Smith Radio Live Sunday evening, usually 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern. I had to think about that. 4 years of this.
We're at 7 tonight.
Yeah, we're at 7 tonight. Just a special 1 hour show. And if you want to be a part of the show, you can call in 513-888-1538 or just go to smithradio.info, take you directly to Spreaker where we broadcast, and you can join the chat line. And the reason why I say this is because currently we have Sam.
Oh, Sam's on.
Good friend of ours. Hey, Sam, how you doing? And DJ T on the line, on the chat line.
As always. Okay. All right.
best.
Well, welcome.
So we're talking about Moab.
Right.
We're talking about bombing terrorist organizations. And Trump is giving his generals free reign.
Okay.
He said, here it is, boys. It's opened up.
Now, it depends on what he feels about the generals. And there's this school of thought, which I subscribe to at this point so far. And that is that Trump has had just great instincts. He has great judgment. I think he's proven that so far. I think when you delegate judgment into other people, then that could be problematic. But here's what the detractors might say if they're not thinking about the judgment of Trump. They're thinking, okay, given all this free reign to the generals. Well, the generals in the Cuban Missile Crisis wanted to nuke Cuba. So, yeah.
Oh, and would that what kind of fallout would that have on Florida, FLA?
Well, no. Here's what was going to happen. And actually, some of them said, well, we don't need to nuke Cuba. Let's just do a full-on Normandy-style invasion force, ground force. Yeah, full-on. We'll send in 500,000 troops, and we'll just overrun the whole entire...
That would be one man shoulder to shoulder around the entire coast of Cuba.
Probably. So we'll do that, and we'll take over, and we need to do that because it's to eliminate the threat of the nuke. But here's the thing. They did the war games of that, and they determined that this would escalate to the point where there would be a nuclear exchange between the United States and Soviet Union. And so that's why, in the end, JFK really reined them in and said, well, no. Nobody do anything unless I give them, specific instructions to do so. He was a micromanager. At least that's the way the historians are portraying him. And the reason he is because his generals were total warmongers.
Oh, wow.
They couldn't wait. Curtis LeMay, he was I guess at the time, maybe even chief of staff, general or something of the Air Force. What do they call that of the Air Force? He may have been the chief of staff of the Air Force or whatever it was. He said, we're going to bomb those guys. We're going to go in there, we're going to invasion force. We're going to get them everything. We're going to get them all.
It's funny. Hollywood made a movie about that, I think.
About
Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, right.
I brought this earlier this week. I brought this up to Carrie, and I'm telling you, I am shocked that the left has not come up with this yet.
Okay, let's hear it.
And I'm giving them food
exclusive.
I'm
breaking thought here by Brian Smith,
and I'm giving them food for thought, and I'm letting it out there because I want you to know we came up with it first.
Copyright Smith Radio, as usual and as always.
Okay, the movie Dr. Strangelove, gotta go see it.
If you haven't seen it, you need to just stop listening to us right now because you're not going to understand anything. And go watch the movie, and then come back and listen to the rest of this.
Right. So in Dr. Strangelove, it's set in a scenario like the Cold War era. There's a lot of fascinating
Cold War.
Fascinating things involved, and they a lot of tongue-in-cheek jokes.
It wasn't meant to be a comedy.
It became
a comedy,
a cult following comedy flick. Just unbelievable. So the premise of the movie is that one of the generals goes rogue because fluoride's in the water.
Right.
And so he launches the nukes on Russia. And Russia says, oh, we've got an auto refire, which is the end of the world nukes.
Yeah, it was some sort of a doomsday device.
Yeah, and that's what they called a doomsday device.
It was irreversible. It caused a full retaliation that's irreversible, completely irreversible.
Right, accidentally.
Right.
So based on the premise of that and the fact that this general had the ability to do that, the left is going to lose it when they finally hear this show and realize Hollywood already told us, they predicted this. Trump allowing his generals to run rampant.
And what is this going to cause?
They're going to Trump's generals are going to hit the button.
Okay.
Because fluoride in the water.
You got to see the movie. It's hilarious.
Because fluoride, and they're going to launch it at Russia.
Okay.
And Russia's going to launch the doomsday device.
Wait, why would Trump want to do this?
No, he doesn't. Just like the president in the movie.
Oh, the left is going to try to... You're shocked that they haven't portrayed this narrative.
Correct, because the president in the movie, played by Peter Sellers, he played three characters, and you wouldn't...
They wanted him to play four. They wanted him to play... what's the guy with the weird name that was the pilot of the B-52?
The one that rode the bomb in.
Yes.
Folks, at the end... Spoiler alert! At the end of the movie,
you're gonna ruin it.
Okay, I won't do it. It's an ending like never before. Anywho, Peter Sellers, and if you don't remember, Peter Sellers, the Pink Panther, the detective, the Pink Panther.
He was like one of the most famous comedians back in the 60s.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Peter Sellers plays three different
Slim Pickens.
Slim Pickens.
Yeah.
How did we forget that?
I don't know why, because his name doesn't come off all the time in the show. But anyway, Slim Pickens played the B-52 pilot. They wanted Peter Sellers to play the B-52 pilot.
They needed Slim Pickens. They needed Slim Pickens because he was the rogue, all-American, redneck cowboy guy.
He had a cowboy hat.
Like, I'm surprised they didn't rename him during Bush's era Bush. Because they want to make fun of. Look at that redneck cowboy hat.
Yeah,
redneck.
He had the hillbilly accent.
America loving.
Yeah,
all out.
It's weird that the leftist ideology propaganda was in effect even back then during the Cold War.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
So the president in the movie, Peter Sellers, does not want this and calls the president of Russia.
Mm-hmm.
He says, if we didn't want this, come on. What do you mean you can't turn it off? Come on.
You can't. By the way, you can't hear the Russian premier's voice at all. You only hear the one side of the conversation. It's Peter Sellers' side.
Is he talking to Gorbachev?
No, that would have been back when
Who's he talking
Khrushchev.
Yeah, that's Khrushchev. Oh, come on. What do you mean?
Nikki, baby.
That's what Nikki, baby. What do you mean, Nikki? Oh, I know that it's irreversible. Why would you make that?
Right. You know, it's funny. The original, it was supposed to be a thriller. It was a Stanley Kubrick movie. It was originally supposed to be a thriller. And part of the way through the filming, they were like, we're not trying to make a comedy, but some of this stuff is so outrageous, you can't help but laugh. And they were laughing while they were filming it. And then finally they had a meeting and said, why don't we just go with it? And they did. So they ended up actually sticking with the fact that it was kind of funny. But anyway, so you think, getting back to why we brought this up, you can't believe that the left has not tried to make this conspiracy, a conspiracy theory, that Trump is trying to start World War III on purpose to protect the precious bodily fluids of Americans.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay, so it's called Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Love the Bomb.
Okay.
That's the name of the movie. And we actually have a sound clip of the conversation of the United States president calling Khrushchev.
Nikita Khrushchev.
Nikita Khrushchev.
Yeah. Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Hello? Hello, Dimitri.
Oh, Dimitri.
Listen, I can't hear too well. Do you suppose you could turn the music down just a little?
Because he's partying.
Right.
Oh, that's
right.
much better. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, here, stop it real quick. At this point, the Russian premier is unaware that the
nuclear bomb the codes have been set out, and the nukes have been launched.
Nukes are on the way.
Yeah, they're in B-52s. There's a handful of them.
Yeah. And this is before, you gotta understand, this movie's kind of old. I think 62 maybe or something like that. This movie came out
64
before most of our nukes were intended to be delivered by ICBM.
Yeah, these were all delivered by aircraft.
Bombers. Yeah, bombers. So anyway.
Fine, I can hear you now, Dmitri. Clear and plain and coming through fine. I'm coming through fine too, eh? Good, then... Well, then, as you say, we're both coming through fine. Good. Well, it's good that you're fine, then, and I'm fine.
Isn't that like that when you've got bad news to tell somebody that you don't want to tell them?
It's that long delay before you have to drop the bomb.
And
figuratively speaking.
Right. He's in a blacked out room with a circular light over a circular table
with all the chiefs of staff.
2 dozen people. One of the generals here, like, no, nuke them, let it go.
That's LeMay.
Yeah, LeMay.
What's LeMay?
I agree with you. It's great to be fine. Now then, Dmitri, you know how we've always talked about the possibility of something going wrong with the bomb. The bomb, Dmitri. The hydrogen bomb. Well, now, what happened is one of our base commanders, he had a sort of, well, he went a little funny in the head.
And you know, how many base commanders do you know that just go a little funny in the head?
Well, in Hollywood, it happens every movie.
Yes, every
movie, yeah.
You know, just a little funny. And he went and did a silly thing. Well, I'll tell you what he did. He ordered his planes to attack your country.
Oh, no.
Well, let me finish, Dmitri. Let me finish, Dmitri. Well, listen, how do you think I feel about it?
Can you
imagine how I feel about it, Dmitri? Why do you think I'm calling you? Just to say hello? Of course I like to speak to you. Of course I like to say hello. Not now, but anytime, Dmitri. I'm just calling up to tell you something terrible has happened. It's a friendly call. Of course it's a friendly call. Listen, if it wasn't friendly, you probably wouldn't have even got it. They will not reach their targets for at least another hour. I am positive, Dmitri. Listen, I've been all over this with your ambassador. It is not a trick. Well, I'll tell you. We'd like to give your air staff a complete rundown on the targets, the flight plans, and the defensive systems of the planes. Yes, I mean, if we're unable to recall the planes, then I'd say that, we're just going to have to help you destroy them, Dmitri.
Yikes.
I know there are boys. All right, well, listen, now who should we call? Who should we call, Dmitri? The people, sorry, you faded away there. The People's Central Air Defense Headquarters. Where is that, Dmitri? In Omsk, right? Yes. Oh, you're calling first, will you? Uh-huh. Listen, do you happen to have the phone number on you, Dmitri? What? I see. Just ask for Omsk information. I'm sorry, too, Dmitri. I'm very sorry. All right, you're sorrier than I am. And I am sorry as well. I am as sorry as you are, Dmitri. Don't say that you're more sorry than I am, because I'm capable of being just as sorry as you are. So we're both sorry, all right? All right.
It's like a domestic dispute.
Yes, he's right here. Yes, he wants to talk to you. Just a second.
Oh.
It's almost over.
Товарищ председатель, говорит Десадский. Да?
Okay, so that was the Russian diplomat.
Right.
And they had the German diplomat in there as well.
No, he was supposed to be Russian, I think, wasn't he?
The one where his arm goes up and
the guy played by Peter Sellers.
Right.
I don't even remember.
I don't remember. Anyways,
he was a major character, yeah.
But look how they portray, look how Hollywood in 1964 portrays the President of the United States, the bomb, the nuclear bomb, and Russia, and the generals.
It's Peter Sellers. He's doing Peter Sellers.
I know, but I love it. But let me just say that I'm shocked that the left has not run with this narrative because they did it with Reagan. Reagan's going to blow the world up.
On purpose.
On purpose. And now Trump's going to blow the world up because he's incompetent and his generals are running it.
Interesting, especially when you point out that it's public now that he's letting his generals go and run free.
Oh, and he told them as much. He said, I trust them. They don't need to call me.
And here's the thing. Here's my position on Trump. He's given me no reason to doubt his judgment. If he's determined that they can handle it, this is different. This is not like the Cuban Missile Crisis, where JFK had to fight off Curtis LeMay, who wanted to blow everything up. And he didn't really care a whole hell of a lot about a nuclear exchange, just as long as at the end, after all the bombs had been dropped, they win.
Right.
That's all he really cared about.
Right. And what was Russia saying? I don't care if...
no, that was Vladimir Lenin.
Oh, Vladimir Lenin said, I don't care if everybody that dies as long as whoever's left is Russia.
He said, I don't care if 3/4 of the Earth's population dies in a nuclear exchange as long as the last quarter is communist. Right. Wow. Yes, that's definitely not good. So, yeah, and the thing is I always knew this because I'm old enough to know this. Believe me, I was not even the least bit worried about threats coming from North Korea at all. I know how incapable they are. I know how primitive they are. I know how hard they're trying to get technology to be able to, create nuclear weapons and deliver them, and how much of a failure it's been so far. So when they started threatening this stuff, I'm like, you know what? Let's see if they come up with a couple of real successful tests before we even start worrying about this kind of stuff. What I'd be more worried about would be a giant invasion, a ground invasion force coming across the 38th parallel into South Korea. That would be a little bit more problematic. But what really stemmed the worry on my part was when the president of China is talking about a troop buildup on the northern border of North Korea, and that North Korea is going to disarm if they have to do it themselves.
Right.
And that's all on account of a meeting that Trump had with him the day that he bombed Syria. So I had to crack up laughing. Somebody tweeted out that Donald Trump's having a really bad week. Real bad week. And I'm like, what kind of alternate reality is this? This may be the best 7 to 10 days that that the president of the United States has had in my lifetime. Any president.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of a week of happenings that have gone so one-sidedly in our favor in a week span ever. You can't name one. I mean, the Berlin Wall falling obviously is a really good thing. It didn't happen. It happened as a result of Ronald Reagan, but it didn't happen on his watch. It happened on Bush's watch. I would think that if George W. Bush won the Gulf War, which he did, the same week that the Berlin Wall fell, which that didn't happen. It wasn't the same week. I would say that would be comparable to Trump's previous week. So, yeah, I mean, things are going great for him.
There was a fake news article out earlier this week saying that Michigan voters, Trump voters for Michigan, we've interviewed every one of them, and they all say Trump has gone so wrong. What? We are so off. No, this is so awful, and it's so bad, and we wish we could undo. And it's just
undo what?
Our vote for Trump. It's such a fake news article.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. And they were saying he's not holding true to his promises, which is a good line to use against a politician because you can always find them to lie to you.
Well, and I'll give them this. There's this isolationist group of Trump supporters, and it's very large. If you take just the diehard, like really active, engaged Trump supporters, and you put them in one giant deplorable basket.
Wow. Not a basket of deplorables, but a deplorable basket.
If you took the entire basket of deplorables,
okay,
and you looked at them all and you asked each one of them, are you an isolationist that's against what happened in Syria, Or are you trusting that what Trump did was a small part of a larger goal that he's trying to accomplish? What you'll find is that the percentage of people that are the isolationists is actually pretty big in that basket of deplorables. And so, and I say that affectionately because I'm in it, okay? So the argument that the isolationists make are very solid. They make great arguments. If you are an isolationist, all of your arguments for remaining an isolationist are valid as far as I can tell.
An isolationist meaning stay at home, no intervention overseas.
Yeah, all your efforts should be towards like your all of your money, like tax money and just efforts, labor and all that kind of stuff should be focused on things inside the border of the United States.
Right, like you would not drop multiple pallets of unmarked currency, gold bullion, silver, dollars,
unmarked bills, duffel bags.
Yeah, to Iran.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Nor would there be, hey, let's put ground troops and invade Iraq and remove Saddam Hussein, or do
here's the thing,
Libya and Egypt and all that kind of stuff.
Right, but here's the thing, though. Donald Trump, and I had to remind myself of this too as well, I seemed to slip down a little bit more of an isolationist type of guy. I wanted more of focus at home, less of these frivolous wars. But we have to remember, Trump campaigned on destroying ISIS.
That's the biggest argument that the supporters of the Syria strike can make. And
the Syrian strike or the Syrian strike? It is a serious strike.
Well, if you say it's a Syrian strike, that makes it sound like Syria struck.
Oh.
But if it's a Syria strike, that means that it was a strike on Syria.
Right. Makes sense.
Right.
I was just playing semantics with words.
That's called a redundant. Did you get that from
Sorry,
the
folks.
Department of Redundancy Department?
Yes, I did, sir.
Okay,
yes, sir.
Yes.
So this is by Fox News.
Okay.
U.S. military commanders are stepping up their fight against Islamic extremism as President Donald Trump's administration urges them to make more battlefield decisions on their own, which is what they are trained to do. Okay? You're not asking generals and commanders to do something they are incapable of doing.
Okay.
They've been trained to do this.
They were trained to follow orders.
What the guys on the ground are. We were.
Right.
We were trained to follow orders.
Right.
As the White House works on a broad strategy, America's top military commanders are implementing the vision articulated by Defense Secretary Jim Mattis. A Mad Dog Mattis, if you will. That triggers the left when you call him Mad Dog.
Okay. All right.
Because he loves being called Mad Dog Mattis.
You know, the Germans called the Marines in World War I, they called us devil dogs.
Nice.
And you know what we said when we heard that?
Oh, we'd take that as a badge of honor.
Yeah, we said, all right, I guess we're devil dogs. They loved it. And so now, to this day, Marines call each other devil dogs.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I had no idea that's where that came from. That's awesome.
Yeah, the Germans called us because we were just storming out of the trenches.
So here's Jim Mad Dog Mattis's vision. He articulates it like this: decimate Islamic State's Middle East strongholds and ensure that the militants don't establish new beachheads in places such as Afghanistan.
Okay.
Decimate.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, apparently they're doing it. And, quote, there's nothing formal, but it's beginning to take shape. A senior U.S. defense officer said on Friday, there's a sense among these commanders that they are able to do a bit more. And so they are. Then they complained about being under Obama and having their hands tied. And we talked about this on this show forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, we the problem with America for the past 50 years or longer, maybe 60, 70 years, is that we're not fighting wars the right way.
No, We need to fight a war to win it at all costs.
Unconditional surrender.
Right. That may sound harsh and evil, but that's the only way to save lives.
Yeah. I watched a documentary. And by the way, you should all do this, and maybe I'll put it in the link somewhere. If you're listening to this on YouTube, maybe we'll go in and edit the and put the link of this. There is a documentary that was actually trending on YouTube, and it only had like 6,000 views. So I'm assuming it was trending because people on the staff at YouTube, at Google, were making it.
They did like it. Okay,
yeah, because it was trending. It was in the trending. It was a half-hour documentary on the Korean War, and I thought, if this is trending, there's got to be something good about it. And it was your run-of-the-mill black and white documentary. Kind of looked like a PBS type thing. And not only have I never seen a what are we looking at? Korean? No, it's not in color. I don't know what he's looking at it. Okay, so it's a YouTube documentary that was trending. I actually posted on Twitter that, and you could check my timeline if you want. You have to scroll down probably several days ago. That's not that. Gosh, Brian, you make it sound like I do 500 tweets a day.
Did you guys hear that? I'm so sorry. That was inappropriate.
Anyway, so this documentary, it's about a half hour long, and it does a better job than any other thing I've seen that really describes from the beginning, event by event by event in chronological order, how the Korean War got started, how it relates to Stalin and the Soviet Union and America and World War II. It relates to World War II. A lot of people don't realize this, but Japan occupied the entire Korea Peninsula during World War II. That was a big part of World War, was that Japan was trying to take over the world. That's, everybody talks about Hitler. People don't realize that Japan was an imperial nation and they wanted to expand. They were trying to take over the whole Pacific. They were trying to expand westward. They were into China. They were occupying areas of China. They were occupying the entire Korea Peninsula, and they were abusing Koreans and all this stuff. When the war ended, it was an agreement between the United States and the Soviet Union to divide Korea into two countries, North and South Korea, where the North will be under control of Stalin.
We saw how well that worked out in Germany.
What, East Germany? Yeah, right. Well, but here's the thing. Stalin pulled out his control of Korea and left it to Kim Jong-il's dad, which I can't remember, Kim Jong-un or something like that.
Soon?
This would be Kim Jong-un's grandfather.
Okay.
When he gave it to, when Stalin gave him full control, autonomy, all he had to do was remain a communist nation. And the first thing that Kim Jong-un, I think is who it was, did was fly to Moscow and ask Stalin if he could invade South Korea and unify the Koreas into one Korea. Wow. And guess what Stalin said? No.
Oh.
And you know what Kim did? He said, all right, and went back home. And guess what happened a couple years later? The Russians blew up their first nuke. Their very first one. And when that happened, then Stalin said, hey, Kim, you remember what you were asking me that time? Yeah, go ahead, buddy. You know why? Because America's a paper tiger, and now that I got the bomb, they're not going to do nothing.
We got this, man.
And then Kim went barreling into South Korea, and all hell broke loose. And that's the Korean War.
Kim Il-sung.
Okay.
Kim Jong-il. And now Kim Jong-un.
Okay, gotcha. So it's Kim Jong-un's grandfather. Right. He was the one that was put there by Stalin and then eventually given blessing to go ahead and attack South Korea to unify it. And of course, the Americans were like, whoa, under it wasn't Eisenhower, it was the bomb-dropping dude. I can't remember who our president was now. That took over for JFK or FDR, whoever it was.
Hoover.
No, Hoover was in the 30s.
I don't know who I'm thinking about.
I don't know why I can't think of his name.
Wow.
He's the guy that authorized the nukes on Japan.
And they have a word for him. My brother was actually stationed out there in Japan. They still talk about
everybody listening right now is like screaming that
they still talk about him to this day.
Anyway, so one of our producers is desperately presidents of the United States.
Harry
Truman. Yeah.
Harry.
So Truman freaked out and said, "Whoa, we can't allow this to happen." He got the United NATO and all them together, and then it became. A lot of people don't know this, and I didn't even know this. I learned stuff from that documentary. Korea was World War III.
Yeah,
literally.
Yes.
The entire world. The reason it ended up being a stalemate and they stopped is because they said with the manpower of China, which is in the billions. Well, I don't know, but at the time.
They could throw a body at every single one of our bullets and never run out of bodies.
We'd run out of bullets before they ran out of bodies. Yeah. That was a problem. And guess who was on the South? The entire rest of the world. There was no end to it.
Man.
And so they said, you know what? Instead of fighting this until there's no human being left on Earth, let's just go ahead and stop and we'll agree to have a 38th parallel and that'll be it. So it was a ceasefire. But that's what they determined. They determined that with the bodies of China and the bodies of the entire rest of the world, there was no way this war was going to come out with a winner or loser or surrender or anything. And so that's why that happened. So, but ever since then, we forgot how to fight wars. We just don't do it right. The whole interventionist thing comes from the Cold War and stopping the dominoes from falling, stopping the North Korean dictators stopping dictators like in North Korea from taking over capitalist countries such as South Korea, right? And that's what happened in Vietnam. The reason we didn't just go and destroy North Vietnam and just take it over and unify it into a capitalist country is because all the generals remembered what happened in Korea and said that if we get too close to the northern border, China is going to flood the country with troops again, and we're going to end up in a war with China, just like we were in a war with China in North Korea,
right?
Which is exactly what happened. So fast forward all the way after all that Korea, Vietnam, all this stuff, just it became just this world policy of interventionism, even though the Cold War ended. So I think we need to go back to the way things were done prior to the Cold War, which is when you poke the bear, when you poke the tiger, it's not a paper tiger. And you will
feel the wrath.
And you will lose. And when you lose, we're not going to be easy. We're going to get to the point where your only recourse is to say, all right, we'll sign a paper that says we give full control to you, which is what happened after World War II. And that's how we got, we were in charge of the fate of Japan. What happened to Japan was totally up to us. We let them keep their emperor. We, just everything that happened in Japan was totally at our whim. We could have done whatever we want. We could have made it the 51st state.
And some people think.
Well, Japan turned out okay.
Yeah, they did. They turned out really well.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm trying to look for the documentary. There's a documentary on Netflix about North Korea. You've got to see it. Just Google North Korea when you're on Netflix. Yeah. Netflix has some really amazing uncensored documentaries, and it's telling that that these documentaries are out there for us to see, but they're not talked about as much as.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm a documentary person. Like when I'm bored at night and I'm like, I want to watch something. A lot of times I will just type in documentary on YouTube and just kind of start scrolling to see if something like catches my interest.
Now,
and here's the thing though. Korea has never, like I wouldn't see a Korean documentary or a Korean War documentary and say, ooh, I want to learn about that. But when I saw that trending video, not only was I interested, but as soon as I started watching it, I was like, oh, it's filling in all the gaps of knowledge that I had about the Korean War. Like I had a lot of I knew the gist of it.
Right.
And I knew the important details, but that filled in all the blanks and it was just great. I loved it.
Right. With this documentary, you'll know it because when it starts out, they use an undercover hidden camera again, just like when they did Saudi Arabia.
The new one. There's a newer one.
I'm not sure how new this one
It's only
is.
a couple years old. But I think I know what you're talking about.
Where this doctor, who's a world renowned doctor for eyesight, and in North Korea, people are losing their eyesight as young as in their teens,
Dude, that's
in
not
their
good.
20s, due to malnutrition. They're getting glaucoma at 20 years old.
Exposure to communism.
Yes, it'll blind you.
Right.
So this doctor is bringing just basic equipment in to North Korea, allowed by the government, to help its citizenry see again. And this is all credited to the dictator.
Okay.
This may have been Kim Jong-un's dad at the time. It may be a few years old, but it's still.
I thought it was newer. It was Kim Jong-il. It was under Kim Jong-il. You're right. It was.
and it still holds true to this
so it's
day.
like 10 years old, maybe 15.
Right.
15-year-old.
So they used the camera and they went around and they looked around North Korea, and the things that they saw were just shocking.
And they interviewed people.
Yes, they interviewed this grandmother who lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with her entire 3 generations of family, but that's all right. And what's shocking is that you don't realize this until it's over. There's no furniture, there's no table, there's no chairs, there's nothing on the walls as far as painting or pictures except for one government issued picture.
And it's of?
Mein Führer, the dear leader.
The dear leader.
And she praised him. She wanted, and that's why they interviewed her, because she wanted to get her eyes fixed.
Right.
So that she could see her leader once again before she dies.
Yeah, and for people to say, look, these people really love their leader, they know that if they're heard by anybody saying anything other than that,
You'll be killed.
they're risking being taken off by the Gestapo or whatever they call them, put in a gulag. And I'll tell you what, you hear, if you've ever learned about the history of Soviet Union, the big thing was the gulags up. They'll send you up to Siberia in labor camps and all that.
Right.
It's even worse in North Korea. Even worse.
So towards the end of the end of the documentary, they interview a soldier who actually escaped.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! So this soldier developed this way because it's electric fences. You can't leave.
Right.
Well, why don't you just walk out? You cannot walk out of North Korea. It's not possible.
You either end up in China, or if you get near the demilitarized zone, there's soldiers
Landmines.
everywhere. Well, soldiers everywhere.
Soldiers everywhere. His way of doing it, they used a pole and lifted up the electric barbed wire fence. Him and his friend, and they're both soldiers, and they crawled underneath it. The pole slipped and got his buddy, and he had to keep running. Now, when they ran, they didn't want to get caught from the barbed wire, so they went naked. This is true.
Because that'll help keep him from getting caught by the barbed wire.
Right. So he
Clothing's
runs.
the worst.
And he navigates a minefield just on the other side of the barbed wire. He gets captured, gets taken in by good people, and interviewed. And when they were interviewing this guy, they asked about his friend, and he said, "I don't want to talk about that."
Yeah.
And they asked him. They said, "So what about your family?" He said, "I know what they're probably doing to them right now. Because if you escape, they will kill your family. Your brothers, your sisters, your mom, your dad, they're dead.
Oh, no.
Dead. I want them dead. Dead."
And even if they didn't do that, he'll always know in his mind that they did, because he'll never know otherwise.
Right. And if they're not dead, they have a special camp for families that live in this camp. It's like a concentration camp, but the whole family lives in there until he returns. Or until it's like a pressure cooker camp. I don't know how else to explain it.
Right.
You put the entire family in this camp until you get the end result, which is the defector to either come back or maybe come back or dead. Either one of the two options. So it's, that's North Korea.
Here's how this all gets wrapped up into a bow nicely. And this is how you know my prediction has a lot of merit. Here's my prediction. My prediction is that Korea is going to be unified within the Trump administration, and that Kim Jong-un and that communism is going to be end. And here's how I come up with that. You're thinking, oh my gosh, World War III. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But here's what you need to know. North Korea is your quintessential communist nation. It's the communist utopia.
Right.
It's everything that they wanted to implement in whatever, Communist Manifesto, whatever.
Everybody's starving. People are dying.
Right.
Contractors built a big, giant, large building, like a huge skyscraper apartment complex for government officials only.
Okay.
And while they were building it, Kim kept saying, I want it done now. Been done yesterday, get it done. Weren't even done with construction, and he started moving in government officials.
Okay.
And the guy that was building it said, can't do this. It collapsed.
Oh, no.
Killed all the government officials in there.
Oh, no.
And you know who else died?
The guy that built it.
Everybody involved in the construction of the building.
Because it's their fault, right? Because it's their fault.
Every one of them died.
All right, so here's my prediction. And this is the thing that you need to know. With Korea being the kind of communist nation that it is, just like communism, every single place it's ever been tried, it's completely unsustainable. There's not enough labor happening under communism to make up for the needs of the people, which is why everybody starves under every single communist nation or regime that has ever been tried.
Well, prove it, Kerry, prove it. Well, Venezuela isn't communist, but they're trying to be.
No, Venezuela was.
Well, they're
under Hugo Chavez and all that?
And they're trying to go full-blown.
Yeah.
They're calling themselves socialist, but they're going full-blown.
We know what that means.
And everybody's dying of food.
Semantics, yeah. They're communists and they're done for. Cuba.
First martial law to Washington, the largest public auto auction in the Midwest.
What are we doing? Good God, turn the volume down.
CNN does that to me every time.
Yeah, you can't do that. You got to turn see, what you do is you mute it until you're ready to play what you want to play. And then you unmute it.
CNN doesn't allow the mute button.
Shut up.
No, it doesn't.
It's a communist channel. All right, so anyway, unsustainable,
right.
Broke, poor, starving. So how does Korea still exist today? Because they get aid from China. And they also sell one of their only resources they even get, which is coal, to China. And that is how they survive. This is why China has full control over North Korea.
And Trump knows this. Why do you think Ping Pong was down there in Mar-a-Lago?
Z.
Ping Pong Z?
I don't know what his first name is, but
Z. We could just call him Z?
President Z.
President Z.
You need to call him President. El Presidente.
With a Russian accent?
With the premier.
Okay.
I'm going to assassinate the premier. I don't know. So anyway, so Z.
Okay.
He knows what the deal is. He knows that the only reason North Korea is still... Here's the deal. China was part of the communist bloc during the Cold War.
Right.
I don't think they're buying into that anymore.
Oh, really?
I think that Z is like... I mean, he's friends with Trump.
You know what?
Literally friends.
We could probably make more money. Mm-hmm. Keep our people happier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If we go the route that Trump is going.
And Trump could talk Z into believing that his people are going to herald him as a hero if he goes and improves their economy with the capitalism.
Mainstream media is already attacking Trump for pulling back on China's currency manipulation.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
I mean, that kind of goes part and parcel. Trump is giving out the olive branch, I'm saying he's kind of making a first move.
Oh, they're friends.
Yeah, he's like, hey,
friends. Yeah.
Hey, man, we're good. We just need to get this kid under control.
I didn't know this. I don't know what Jack Posobiec does in his spare time, but he claimed in one of his videos that he made a week ago that he's met Donald Trump, which there's some people that we know that have met Donald Trump, and that he's met President Z. He said he met both of them.
No.
Yeah. And he said he believes, based on what he knows of the both of them, that they get along great and that they have very they complement each other's personalities and they dislike each other. All right. That being said, Cold War's over. Soviet Union's gone. Not only is communism a failure everywhere, but even China's like, yeah, we need to start steering away from the whole communism thing and maybe kind of opening up to more capitalism. All right? What do you think they are thinking? And I don't mean just the president of China, but everybody in the world who knows what's going on geopolitically, including how it relates to the Cold War, East versus West, communism versus capitalism. They've all got to be asking this same question. And that question is, what is the purpose of North Korea right now? Why are they even here? Why does it exist? Why does this communist regime even exist? The Cold War is over.
Right.
Look at Vietnam. You know, Vietnam united back in 1975, and it was a big loss for America and for the West because they became the communist nation. I have an uncle that lives there. He's been living there for years. Oh. He married a Vietnam woman.
Because he loves communism.
He's definitely a leftist, but here's what I asked him. I said, why, you know that communism doesn't work? He said, Carrie, there's not as much, anywhere near as much communism. There's a lot of capitalism going on here. So even Vietnam is like, yeah, we're steering away from that. Even Vietnam. So
because when you recognize how many people, human lives, communism has taken in 100 years, that's the 20th century.
Probably hundreds of millions.
They're talking, well, as low as 100 million, as high as maybe 200 million. I mean,
billions.
I mean, we're talking hundreds of millions of dead people, all because of an ideology called communism.
That's absolutely true, and it's a tragedy of, 2,000, 3,000 years from now, people are going to be talking about this, and the little kids that are reading this in their history books, their ancient history books, are going to be like, it couldn't have been that bad. Come on, really?
Let's try it. It's like
hundreds of millions.
It's like
really?
Eve telling Adam, "Hey, taste it. It ain't that bad. Take a bite."
It's like all the other atrocities. You're just like from a long, long time ago. You're like, oh, they're exaggerating. They got to be exaggerating.
So,
but the point is if everybody's asking the question that I just asked, which is, why are we tolerating a North Korea, a totally totalitarian communist regime?
We shouldn't.
In a post-Cold War era, who's now trying to throw around nukes and stuff. What are we doing here? I guarantee you that was what the conversation looked like between China, between Xi and Trump. They were probably like, you agree with me? I agree with you. What the hell are we doing with this North Korea thing? Nobody believes it. Nobody agrees.
Watch the media hate Trump for trying to steal North Korea from Kim, the dear leader, the one who gives life to his people. And that was the CNN clip I was trying to pull up. It wasn't a clip. It was CNN blast you when you go on their website with advertisements, no matter what. It was an article by CNN. Kim Jong-un kills up to 340 people since 2011.
Like these are staffers and
high-level
people.
Killed his uncle, killed his aunt, killed multiple family members.
Probably thousands and thousands of people in the gulags and all that kind of stuff.
Right, and there's no way to know exactly how many.
Right.
These are just reports from people who escape to tell you what's going on in the inside.
Right.
And North Korea is situated in a way to where they can be isolationist. That's the only way you survive this long.
Do you ever seen that picture of South Korea and North Korea from a satellite at night? Way up in, like it's...
Oh, yeah. One is completely blacked out, and the other one is completely lit up with Coca-Cola signs. And Mickey D arches.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I've been to South Korea. It's nowhere near as modern as you would think. It's pretty primitive. So when they compare South Korea and North Korea and say that North Korea is so primitive compared to South Korea, I'm like, wow. In fact, I've been to Mexico and I've been to South Korea, and they're very similar. Just the kind of buildings and the kind of communities.
But Mexico is like a third world country.
I'm telling you,
with no capitalism,
South Korea,
just complete dictatorship and run by the drug cartel.
South Korea. Well, I've been. I was in Japan and I was in South Korea, and Japan is much more technologically advanced than South Korea.
That's for real. That is the end of the show. That's why we cannot do an hour, folks.
We're used to doing hours and hours. But,
multiples.
Yeah. We'll get up to speed. We'll get you all up to speed.
So the breaking news of Smith Radio: North Korea and South Korea united under Trump.
It will happen
before his first term or second term.
Before he's out of office.
He just raised $13 to $15 million for 2020 race.
Wow!
Already,
awesome sauce. We need that audio.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable.
Happy Easter!
Without fathom.
God bless America.